Hello, FPL managers. Welcome to another episode of the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 104. I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. And as we look back at a difficult game week 6, unless you own Palmer, Sertalp, let's just share the pain together and start with a short game week review.
Well, this part is always depressing for me this season.
Mm,
I mean, I want to
yes.
cry almost. But I finished the game week with 44 points. I
You're
got
closing
another.
the gap though, all right? The gap is getting smaller. Just 1 point.
Yes, you got 45. So see,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm making progress. But I got my fifth red arrow in this season. I don't have a green arrow yet so far. So
crazy.
it's very impressive. I
Yeah,
have a great record on this.
yes.
Um, So yeah, congratulations for the fifth win. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, as I said last week, I'm sure you will come back at some stage.
Well,
You're just,
getting
you're
more
just making
difficult.
it easier for yourself to get a green arrow at some point. But
Yeah.
anything you want to say specifically about your team today?
Um, Not particularly. I mean, the fact that Bruno Fernandez got a red card,
Yeah.
that was sad, and then they kind of like removed it. They fixed it.
Yes.
They fixed the error, but you
Yeah.
know, you got minus points regardless. So
Yeah,
if
minus points.
if they didn't give him the red card, I was going to beat you this game week, but or like I don't know, Semenyo didn't get a bonus
Yeah,
point
yeah,
or
no, I think
something.
you because I was looking at it Saturday afternoon before the Man United game, and I saw that you still had Bruno and you had, of course, Solanke. So I was thinking like, okay, probably I won't win this weekend. And then I saw the Bruno red card. And okay.
I'm just wondering what did you sacrifice to FPL gods to make that happen?
No, no, nothing, man. I wish you nothing but the best. You know that.
Thank
But I take it. No, but also for me, I mean, 45 points is actually below average, so it's not great. But yeah, I think a lot of other people struggled as well. For me, there were still a few bright points with Mabumo. So thanks for the correction. I kept saying Mabuemo, but somebody corrected us on YouTube. I appreciate it. I think it's better to say Ambumo. So that's what we will do. He had 9 points. I had him since game week 1, so I'm pretty happy with that. And then also 7 points each from Rogers and Semenyo, and 6 points from Havertz, thanks to a quite funny and very late goal. So yeah, could have been worse. Could also have been better. I think especially if you look at my bench, 14 points there with Raul Jimenez for Fulham. He scored a penalty. And then Pedro Porro, I think one of the few defenders that kept a clean sheet, but he was on my bench. But yeah, 45 points, not great, but in FPL, I think we also have to deal with negative results. So I'm still quite okay with this one.
you.
And yeah, we'll look forward now to game week 7.
Yeah.
And I think Sertop, maybe one discussion we can have, and maybe it's a bit of a big one, but so far this season, it looks like the analytics managers are struggling, and I'm just wondering how you look at that. And I was thinking about it myself as well, and I think probably it's not really due to the solvers, right? Because I think we've seen last season that the optimization is working in FPL, but the solvers rely on the data, which in football and in FPL we know it's all about expected and predicted values. So would it be correct if I say that the data so far hasn't been so reliable at the start of the season? And if it is, I mean, can we expect it, to get corrected during the course of the season, or just how do you look at it in general for the start of the season? How do you explain it?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult because when we talk about this whole whether the models are working, if data is fine, if optimization is working correctly or not. I mean, so there
Right.
are so many angles and there are so many steps that something can go wrong. So then our initial reaction whenever something bad happens is that, well, probably data is not up to date.
Mm.
Well, I'm not 100% sure on this because, well, obviously there's, models that people are generating, but there's also, as we always mention, the betting odds, right? So if there is
Yes.
an obvious mistake, you can kind of like work on it. If you
Mm,
think that, oh, well, everyone is exaggerating, or maybe thinking that United is good but they are doing very bad, so I can bet money against them. Well, obviously it is not that easy, but I'm
mm,
just trying to say that it's not only FPL players who are trying to predict football correctly. There's
of
a
course.
bigger interest in predicting these. And then
Yes.
when we are trying to predict these games, obviously the outcome is 0 or 1, right? So either your player gets a goal or a return, or they don't. Um, and if the prediction is, let's say, 60% chance of this guy to get a goal, and if he doesn't, then immediate question is, well, is the models wrong? Um, to be honest, I have still lots of trust in the data.
Of course.
So obviously there could be some like minor problems, but they are not as the as big as we think they are. So obviously some of the popular analytics picks, they didn't return any goals, assists lately, and it's kind of like painful to see. But I see this kind of like as a filter. So because people will be discouraged to use models, what the data is saying, right? Um, but it is equally important to understand that this is like a weighted coin toss. It could come head or tails. We don't know in advance, but we think there's some bias on one way, and then we keep betting on it. So on long term, it should be even out and even
Yeah.
actually give you an edge. But in
Yes.
smaller horizons, it is possible. I mean, you can get five tails, like five
Yeah.
consecutive tails when you are like tossing coin. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
that can say that, well, you shouldn't or you couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. I mean, we were just unlucky. That's how I feel like. The issue is, I mean, from my angle, is this. Well, there are lots of ways to play analytics. There's not a single way, and you can actually maybe decide on a premium. Like you can say that I will start with Holland, and you can actually try to pick remaining of the players using analytics, or
Yeah.
like you can say I don't want any Manchester United players in my team,
Yeah.
and let me what I get. So I think the unlucky part is that people really have lots of trust in these models. So most of the people's teams look quite similar, or I should say there are a few different like structures in place, and you
Yeah.
belong to in one of these categories.
Yeah.
And when analytics pick actually doesn't return points, then it seems like entire analytics players suddenly got really bad. But it is just luck, in my opinion, and hopefully
Yeah.
we will get better in
Yeah.
ranks.
Yeah, and I think also we shouldn't forget we just had 6 game weeks. I mean, it feels like we already been playing now this season for quite a while, but there are 38 game weeks in total. We just had six, so there's still a long way to go, and I think also that it will even out. So as I said, I'm quite happy with my lead in
Hmm.
our head-to-head competition because I'm pretty sure at some point you will get close.
Well, we will see. I feel like it's a little bit difficult this season, but we will see.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. It would be good for me.
There's like 90 points difference between the two of us. It's a tough
Uh,
challenge.
it is, but it can be done. But I will try to keep the lead. That's for sure. Okay, but no, but thanks for covering that. I think it's good to give some perspective. And yeah, let's go on then with the game week 7 review. And before we do that, allow us maybe just to mention again that FPL Optimized made it to the list of finalists for the Football Content Awards 2024. And the big news today, actually, since last week, is that Sertalp and I we decided to go to the event. So that's really exciting for us. We'll be in London during the ceremony on November 21st, and actually the first time for us to meet in person. So yeah, we're really excited about that. And of course, we hope that we can clinch one of those top 3 spots in our category. And you can help us by voting for us. If you do want to do so, please go to footballcontentawards.com, click on vote now, and then you can find us in the best of fantasy football category as an organization. So you can choose there or you can vote for FPL Optimized. And thanks in advance for your votes. Sertalp, I can imagine that you're quite excited about that trip, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, I wasn't I was thinking about maybe attending to it, and then I brought up to my wife, and she said, "Yeah, like why don't you go and visit?" And I have lots of friends that
Excellent.
I made through FPL, so it will be a really
Yeah.
good, cause to go to UK and see them, meet with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, really excited, and we are really hoping that you vote for us, and then we can maybe get an award. So yeah, this will be my first time in the UK too. I will be flying from US,
Wow.
and since I'm coming all that way, I thought maybe we can also have a meetup, and we announced it in our analytics Discord, but to the greater audience. So we will have an FPL analytics meetup. By the way, but when I say analytics, you don't have to be an analytics manager to attend. Obviously, if you are interested in FPL, if you are interested in meeting with us, we will be really happy. And it will take place on November 23rd, Saturday. I think there will be 2 games that we will try to watch together. We are still trying to arrange the place and get a reservation. But yeah, I will announce more details as we get closer, maybe next week even. But yeah, I will be really happy to see if people can make it.
Yeah, excellent and exciting. And personally, I will be there Thursday, Friday, just for the event because I'll have to go home for the weekend. But the meetup is on Saturday, the 23rd, and you won't be there alone, right? Because we have a few, let's say, friends of FPL Optimized, or actually more than friends, people that also help us with. Yeah, with different tools and analysis done on the
Yeah,
website, right?
yeah,
Anything you want
exactly. Yeah,
to mention? Yeah.
yeah. Johnny will be there. Johnny actually covered for me several
Yeah.
times in the podcast, and he was also a guest. Trout, James, FF_Trout will be there. And also many people from the Discord, our mods, also our regular members. They said they will be coming, hopefully. So yeah, it will be exciting. I'm also trying to get also some other people who are not members of the Discord to come and join us. But yeah, let's see.
Wow.
Still working on
Amazing.
those.
Man, I should change my ticket and stay for Saturday. It
Maybe, yeah, yeah.
sounds amazing.
Maybe we
You
can
should actually
convince you
sell
to
tickets. You can make some money, I think. This will be a popular event.
and we just want to bring people together so that we can, talk about why did we choose Bruno Fernandez.
Yeah,
Cry together.
that could be a long discussion. Yeah. But try to keep the mood positive, I would say. Choose another topic.
Okay.
No. All right. No, really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, but for today, let's move on and we focus on game week 7, which is ahead of us. We mentioned last week that we will try to bring some of the data back from last season into the podcast, but we'll need a bit more time for that, right, Sertop? We didn't make it for today.
Yeah, exactly. At the beginning of the season, since we made the decision to have like shorter episodes, we obviously
Yeah,
eliminated some parts of it. So it's taking actually longer than I expected to revive some parts, and
yeah,
we still need to prepare the visuals and also decide on what to talk. But yeah,
yeah,
as mentioned, our idea or purpose is to bring something about the fixture quality in
yeah.
general, so that which fixtures to target, which teams to get the players from. Yeah, still need still need time for
Excellent.
that. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, and we have an international break coming up, by the way, so that also gives us a
Mm-hmm.
bit of time. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but yeah, before that, as I said, there is game week 7. So for today, let's look at the optimal team for this week, as that in any case can give us some good ideas of the players we should be targeting for our teams.
Sure. For the next 8 game weeks, the optimal wildcard 7 team with no transfer scheduled is Raya in the goal, Colville, Robertson, Pedro Porro in defense, Saka, Mbomo, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and Bowen in midfield, Solanke
Okay.
and Wood in forward.
Yeah.
On the bench, we have Johnston, Dunk, Greaves, and Joe Pedro. I should mention that when you don't schedule any transfers, it's a typical thing to have a playing bench. I should say no one is a bench fodder except the goalkeeper, obviously.
Yeah,
That's why if you actually solve this problem with allowing transfers, like even if it is just a one or two transfers, you might actually see that it will probably drop one of the bench players. But yeah, just wanted to mention that you don't need to go with a strong bench. But these are the optimal wildcard 7 players. Yep.
excellent. Yeah, no, I think something we can notice is the Spurs players. I think Spurs is starting a run of, let's say, more favorable fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
So I think also other people were discussing some of the options. Of course, there is Solanke in front, but also in the midfield, we have now a lot of options with, for example, Kulusevski, who is in good form. Of course, also Son, who was injured last game week, but we need to keep an eye on that. If he's back, then he's definitely also a good player to consider for your team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, Pedro Porro in the back. Yeah, even though I think we are not really relying on Spurs to keep clean sheets. I mean, they did keep one last game week, but with Pedro Porro, there's also some attacking attacking threat always, as we know. So yeah, a few good options there.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that the model keeps the faith in Bruno, right?
Yeah, we will see. I mean, they have some nice fixtures. I mean, relatively okay, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully he gets a hat trick this week, to make up for all the pain he
yeah,
caused.
he is playing, right? He had a three match ban, but
Mm-hmm.
it got cancelled. He can play again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and of course there's also Brand Johnson, also on the wing for Spurs, who's been also doing really well. So plenty of options at Spurs.
Yep.
But Bruno, I think that's really a typical case where maybe as an analytics manager, you still look at the data and you say, oh, it's still pretty looking pretty good. But I think more for the eye test managers, we're thinking like, Manchester United is in a lot of trouble and it's just not looking good. And I think the coach is in a tough situation. He might lose his job. I think depending on the result of the weekend. So personally, I wouldn't go there. So that's, I think, always interesting where we see these kind of cases where maybe for an analytics manager you would still consider going for him, but let's say the eye test manager wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel like so. You always wonder, like, if the models are kind of like considering the case that the coach can be fired, then what happens? So there are lots of possibilities that we don't know. But in
No,
general, like even if like Ten Hag is fired today, let's say, I mean, we are relatively sure that Fernandez will play. I mean, there's
yeah,
no, like, it is less likely for him not to play, obviously. Um, and
yeah,
for the new manager, again, I mean, he will play. So he will be in the team. His role might change a bit, which is maybe the unpredictable piece in the
yeah,
puzzle. But I feel like, I mean, United has a good team in
yeah,
general. They didn't perform
yeah. They have.
negatively, but
I
yeah.
mean, on paper they have a good team, but we just see that it's not working this season. That
Yeah.
that's
Maybe
that's my point.
new manager boost will take us there
Yeah, yeah,
eventually.
no, I think actually a new manager wouldn't be a bad thing. I mean, I'm sorry because I of course, also being Dutch, I wish Ten Hag nothing but the best, but for some reason it seems to be not working over there. But anyway, it's good that from a data point of view, yeah, we should indeed consider it because the fixtures do look pretty good,
Yeah.
and they still do have good players as well. It's interesting that we don't see Palmer, the golden boy of the last game week, but that's probably because we're not chasing points here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, yeah, he is a popular transfer because he scored 4 goals, so a lot of
Yeah.
people want that kind of player in their team.
Yeah.
But we're not going there.
But yeah, I mean, their run is a little bit,
Yeah, yeah,
challenging for sure.
yeah. Agree.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for covering the
Mm-hmm.
wildcard team. And as said, that should give us a good idea of some of the players we should be looking at. The other thing maybe we can cover also from an analytics point of view is the wildcard timing. I mean, you and I, we still have our wildcard.
Yeah.
This was also a question that came up, I think, last time in one of our YouTube comments. So, let's say from an analytics point of view, how do you look at it? What are some of the best remaining wildcard windows now?
Well, I wasn't able to actually did what I had in mind. What I had in mind was able to like run an average team and see how the wildcard can do an impact, like how much like projected points you can get more by using your wildcard a little bit early. Because if you're feeding an optimization model the option to wildcard, it will wildcard immediately. We talked about this before. As long as there is no obvious penalty of using the wildcard. By using the wildcard, though, you're kind of losing some information value, because as you wait, you will see that, oh, some players will get injured, they will maybe get a red card, so that maybe I can avoid those. So there's some value in the information. But if we look at the things at the very pure level, you can run these solves for your own team. But I will talk about my own team to give an idea.
Okay.
So I compared Game Week 8, Game Week 10, and Game Week 12. A little bit arbitrary chosen like Game Weeks to wildcard, just to see how much expected value difference is there when I wildcard in different game weeks. So for an 8 game week horizon, if I wildcard in Game Week 8, I get the best lineup expected value at 461. And the next best is Game Week 10, where it is 458, so almost like 3 EV difference between the two. And then if I wildcard in Game Week 12, the maximum EV I can collect is 455, so 3 EV less. So as you see, for every 2 game weeks I'm delaying the wildcard, I'm losing 3 expected value. If you kind of value information around like 1.5-ish, then they're all equal. Like all these 3 options, they're roughly equal. But if you think that, well, there's not too many changes I'm expecting in these game weeks, then obviously, if that's the case, Game Week 8 is better. Yeah. So to be honest, I'm kind of leaning towards Game Week 8 to wildcard for my team. Even though the difference between these options are pretty small, that there's no clear answer. I'm also tired of seeing my team and then getting red arrow. So my human side says that, well, maybe I should wildcard soon.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the plan right now. I mean, all the transfers I had so far, I got them with the idea of keeping them longer. So if I don't wildcard in Game Week 8, I will be still in a good shape. But for your own team, when you're checking these, there could be a very obvious answer. Like if your team is pretty good until Game Week 10, but then it's in a bad shape because of the fixtures, then then it's obviously the wildcard, 10 is better. So it's very team dependent, but I strongly encourage people to try to use the solvers and see which game week makes more sense for their own team. And sometimes people also get a little bit confused about, there's the expected value and there's also the evaluation score, like how many, because like there are things like using your free transfer is actually a bad thing, right? I mean, you increase your EV, but at the same time you lose some flexibility. You could have transferred someone else down the path. So well, the evaluation score is actually generated with that in mind. So like if you are losing flexibility, you are getting penalized. If you are actually rolling your free transfer, then you are actually getting rewarded. So I often look at the evaluation score. That's more important in general. I know I made the comparison here using the lineup projected points. But yeah, I mean, if these values are somewhat close, then, well, there's no clear answer anyway, because model values also change quite a bit. Like from game week to game week, we observe a team playing really bad. I mean, their projected points will get updated. They will go down. So since these things are not deterministic, answer to these questions are often not that clear, in my opinion. But I think more important than when you are wildcarding, the selection of the players are more important, which is where you need the solver anyway. So just wanted to say, I mean, for my own team, I'm thinking about Game Week 8, but I'm maybe 60-70% sure that I will wildcard there. How about you? Have you decided when to wildcard?
Well, I did have that in mind as well, like game week 8, or basically, hitting the button now at the end of game week 7 or during game week 7.
Hmm.
As we will go into another international break, so that gives us kind of 2 weeks to kind of restructure our team and maybe to benefit from a few price changes. But honestly, I think my team still looks quite okay. Well, I might think differently about it after this game week. But one option could be to save the transfer this week and then just go into the international break with 2 free transfers.
Hmm.
Then use those if needed. And if I do that, then I will likely wildcard in game week 12, which you also mentioned, because that's another international break. So, the same argument. We have a bit more time. Plus, on top, I think there are a few nice fixture swings for that game week 12. So, yeah, I'll stay flexible. I'll see how game week 7 goes. If I have a lot of trouble or, if I don't feel good about it, I might hit the button then. But otherwise, I might keep it and try to get just an advantage, hopefully by saving it a little till later.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not set in stone, that's for sure. Okay, the last chart to look at, as usual, is the one with the best captaincy options for the upcoming game week.
Captaincy is a little bit close this week. So
Okay.
checking at the projection models, Holland is at 7.81
Yes.
expected value, and Saka is 7.64. So he's like 0.2 EV behind Holland. And Palmer is at 7.22, so there's a zero point 0.4 EV difference between them. Then
Yeah.
comes Salah at 6.5, M Bomo at 6.3, and then Havertz at 5.8. So
Hmm.
realistically speaking, I think Haaland or Saka are the
Yeah.
ideal choices. But obviously, there will be people who are captaining Palmer and Salah too.
Yeah.
I'm just sure that after Palmer's performance, there will be people who are captaining him. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, for people with Haaland, I think the choice is obvious. But for people who don't have Haaland, then yeah, it's a little bit an interesting week. How about you? Well, you're captaining Haaland, I assume.
Yeah, I will captain Haaland. I mean, even though the last game was disappointing, of course, against Newcastle, not just for Haaland, but for the whole City performance. But yeah, now it's a home game, and of course, Newcastle did well. I think we have to say that. So
Yeah.
now it's a home game against Fulham. Fulham have a good team and they're doing well this season, but I'm thinking about it like who's the player who can haul right in any game week. And if I look at my team and I compare Saka to Haaland, I would bet on Haaland to score that hat trick, more so than Saka. Even though I would say the Arsenal game at home against Southampton is maybe the most appealing game from a fixture point of view. And I do have Saka and Havertz, so yeah, I could choose them as well. But yeah, no, I'll go for Haaland. I'm also, City, they bounced back quite well this week in the Champions League. I think it was yesterday, it was a 0-4 win. Foden was back in the team, which I think can really help them. So yeah, no, I'm not too worried, and I will keep the armband on Haaland. And I think the Palmer one is interesting because he's in such good form, and if you saw the goal scored against Brighton, he has so much confidence, especially that free kick. But then again, Brighton played a really strange game, right? They had a really high line, and Chelsea were really benefiting from it. And I think now against Nottingham, I think Nottingham should be better defensively. But
Hmm.
it doesn't mean. I mean, Palmer can still score a goal, of course. But yeah, it will be a different game. But yeah, for me, it's Haaland. Yeah, to keep it short in the end, Haaland. Okay. Then final topic would be the mini league review, if you agree.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we went up to 478 teams. I'm quite surprised. There were again 30 teams more than last week. It keeps going up, which is really cool. You can still join via the code 9GXNDK. And I think, as we said earlier, we will probably close the league at some point, if you agree, Sertop, to just
Yes.
keep it fair. So I was
Definitely.
thinking maybe end of October, something like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll announce it here on the podcast, but still a few weeks to go, and then we'll close it. And looking at the top three, it's interesting to see that the top teams in our league also struggled in game week 6, same like we did.
Hmm.
But yeah, they managed to keep their spots. I think the gap got a bit, reduced versus the other teams. Number one is still Lyle Mosley with his team. Don't Panic. He scored 45 points. So that was the same score as I had. And he's on
Hmm.
459 points in total. 6 points behind him, we see Clement Ubajaka, the same as in previous weeks. Our number two, he had a game week score of 42 points. So you see also there quite a tough game week for
Hmm.
Clement. And then just 1 point behind him on number three, we have our former leader, LG Fraser, who had also a score of 45 points. But he's now joined by Karen Krago, who entered the top three after a game week score of 58 points. And I think Karen is maybe the first woman we ever had in the top three. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Really great. Well done, Karen. At least, I mean, normally Karen is a female name, I would say. I hope I got that correct. Okay, well, good luck, everyone. Keep it up. And that's it for this week. You can subscribe to our podcast so you will get notified when the next episode is out. And you can also follow us on X. For Sertalp, it's at Sertalp Bilal. For me, it's at BelfiBB. And we also have the separate account for the pod, which is at FPL Optimized. I also want to mention that we have a website called fploptimized.com where you can go to find, several charts and tools to help you with your decision making. So do check it out. And for the people who are listening to the podcast, you can also find us on YouTube. And of course, there you can actually see us. And if you're there, please leave a like and hit the subscribe button. We will appreciate it.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.